PFL 2022 #1 or week 1 of the regular season. We got Collard versus Stevens in the main event. I thought this was very funny, and I kind of like that the PFL did this. They put the PFL champion from last year in Raush Manfio in the co-main event. I'm so happy they did that because Clay Collard is the rightful champion. Clay Collard won the championship last year. They absolutely robbed him in that last fight, but now he's fighting a UFC veteran in Jeremy Stevens, who's coming off a heck of a lot of losses to Beast, Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez, Zabit, Jose Aldo. I mean, Matthew's Gamera, he's losing to absolute killers in that featherweight division. Now he's fighting another killer in Clay Collard, but we got Don Madge in the co-main event, a really good UFC prospect, had a lot of cancellations. Now he's over to the UFC fighting Raush Manfio. Antonio Carlos Jr., last year's a light heavyweight champion, fighting Delan, Monte, Oliver Aubin, Mercier, who last lost to, I believe, Gilbert Burns and Yukian in the UFC. Now he's fighting former PFL champion Natan, Schulte, Emiliano, Sordi, and Cory Hendricks. That's another former champion. Alex Martinez, Stevie Ray, Teodoras, Aukstuolis, and Marthin Hamlet at light heavyweight. Omari, Akhmedov, Viktor, Pesta, Wilkinson, Soto, and Clinton Williams and Simeon Powell. So yeah, this should be a solid card. There's 10 fights here, 5 fights at light heavyweight and 5 fights in the lightweight division. There's a few close fights on here that I do want to make some bets on, but that's only for the channel members, so we'll do those ones after this stream is over. But right now, we're going to go on to the light heavyweight division. Simeon Powell and Clinton Williams in the light heavyweight division. Now, for anyone out there thinking that for this being on the regular season, maybe they have a chance to win the $1 million, I'm pretty sure if I got the sources correct, that either Simeon Powell or Clinton Williams, neither one of them is actually up for grabs to win that $1 million. Unless there is a fight cancellation or something like that, where maybe then Simeon Powell will put into the place of whoever pulls out of that fight. But now he's fighting Clinton Williams, a 38-year-old who last fought about 5 months ago and 9 months ago, and before that, fought about 2 years ago. So he's been on a really, really long layoff from fighting in the World Series of Fighting, the PFL, as well as Fury FC. But he's 38 years old. He's smaller than Simeon Powell. He's way less in reach. I mean, this is going to be an absolute demolition match, in my opinion. Simeon Powell is going to go out there, keep the fight at range, use his crisp boxing on the feet, land some leg kicks, some body kicks, some knees in the clinch. I mean, his Muay Thai is very legit as well, and I expect either a second, I'm going to go second round knockout. I know a lot of you might be thinking maybe a first round knockout, or some of you might think a decision out of after the last fight, but I'm going to go second round knockout win for Simeon Powell in the light heavyweight division. Rob Wilkinson and Bruce Soto in the light heavyweight division. Bruce Soto is definitely a finisher. I mean, he went out there, landed a crazy flush, flying knee on Travis Davis in the first round. Before that, getting some good wins over Christian Torres by unanimous decision, William Seeley by majority decision, and then a lot of other decisions here, and then a few finishes every now and then. He's got 4 knockouts and 3 submissions on his record. Now he's fighting Rob Wilkinson, whose most recent loss is to the champion Israel Adesanya inside of the UFC. After that, he had some kickboxing fights, got a knockout win, a decision win, a few finishes right there, and then another knockout win in a boxing. But yeah, he's a very legit guy. He's definitely going to have, in my opinion, the wrestling and grappling advantage here, and I do believe the striking, maybe like the one punch power, that one crazy shot, could go Bruce Soto to win the fight on the feet. But overall, if it goes the full 3 rounds, I feel pretty confident in Rob Wilkinson kind of just keeping the fight at range, using that very, very large height and reach advantage, as in this fight, he is going to be about 5 inches taller and have a full 9.5-inch reach advantage. So with him being the better grappler just slightly, I mean, maybe Bruce can land a takedown, but he's not going to hold him there. It's going to be a striking fight. It's going to be a kickboxing bout, and Rob Wilkinson is just going to be the much better kickboxer. He's taller, he's lengthier, he throws more volume. it should be a pretty self-explanatory win unless Bruce just starts throwing something crazy and catches the chin of Rob Wilkinson, but I don't see it happening. Rob Wilkinson by a unanimous decision. Omari Akhmedov and Viktor Pesta in the light heavyweight division. Viktor Pesta with 18 wins and 6 losses, 31 years old, and then Omari Akhmedov, a little bit older, 34 and a half years old, and a lot smaller and a lot less in terms of reach. So originally when you look at this type of fight, you see like a veteran Omari Akhmedov, a guy that beat Ian Heinisch in the UFC, Tom Breese in the UFC, only lost to Brad Tavares by split decision, Chris Weidman by unanimous decision. You see all of these legit guys that Omari Akhmedov is fighting and losing to. I mean, Brad Tavares, Chris Weidman are both ranked, and then Marvin Vettori, he got a draw against him. Those are very legit wins and losses and draws for Omari Akhmedov, but ever since he joined the PFL, he just has not looked too good. I mean, even in his last fight with Brad Tavares, yeah, he landed a few takedowns here and there, but he really could not control the fight on the ground, and I kind of see that happening again. The same scenario in the Brad Tavares fight, I kind of see that happening in this fight with Viktor Pesta, in that Viktor Pesta is just going to defend the takedowns, he's going to keep the fight on the feet, use that 4 inches of height, use that, I believe, 6 inches of reach right there, and I think he's just going to outstrike to a decision. He does have a decent finishing ability. He got a few TKO wins in his last 3 fights. I mean, some of them were some pretty solid opponents right there, but yeah, I think this fight's going to be a decision. It's pretty hard to finish a guy like Omari Akhmedov, but again, he's lost to legit guys as well. Derek Lewis in the UFC, Alexei Oleinik in the UFC, Marcin Tybura in the UFC, and has also beaten some really solid guys as well. So I don't think we're going to see a finish either way. If Omari Akhmedov wins, it's going to be him just grinding in the wrestling. If Viktor Pesta wins, it's going to be him defending the takedowns, using the height, using that reach, and winning a decision here. So Viktor Pesta by a decision. Marthin, Hamlet, and Teodoras Aukstuolis in the light heavyweight division. This one is one of the bigger favorites on the card. I mean, there is Antonio Carlos Jr., who is a very, very big favorite. There is also Simeon Powell. Wow, how is Simeon Powell that big of an underdog? That is absolutely insane. But there is also that one. And then, of course, there is the fight with Theodore Aukstuolis, I always get that name wrong, and Marthin Hamlet Nielsen. And Theodore Aukstuolis, I'm just gonna say the first name from now on, Teodoras. But he is a very, very live dog. He's 30 years old, has not fought in a good amount of time, I would say. His last fight was 2018, actually 2017 against Marvo Obueli right there. He got a second round knockout. But if you look at the guys he is losing to, they're very legit. Mohamed Lawal right there, a 17-4 guy at the time, 21-10 right now, fighting Yuri Prochazka, Ryan Bader, Phil Davis actually beating Yuri Prochazka there. That is one of the losses for him. Another one beating Carl Brexton, another guy that fought Yuri Prochazka, and then another one in Sizemon Bajor. So a lot of the guys he's losing to are very, very legit, and he's beating legit guys as well. It's not like he's only losing to them, as he does have a win over the PFL champion himself, Bruno Capoloza. So I do think this is a much closer fight than it is originally, and it was originally anticipated, mainly because Theodoras Aukstuolis does have very good judo skills. His takedown defense is very legit. He's got the trips, he's got the throws he can use. So I don't think Marthin Hamlet is going to be able to go out there and just destroy Theodoras in the wrestling and grappling because of the judo background that Theodoras will have. So it's a tough one. When I first saw the fight, I was going Marthin Hamlet, but watching a little bit of fight film on Theodoras and seeing that he is on a long layoff, but he definitely could have improved the striking, improved even more with his wrestling and grappling, and I think the fight stays on the feet for 3 rounds, and I think Theodoras Aukstuolis is going to actually out-edge Marthin Hamlet here. Again, originally I had Marthin winning the fight, but Theodoras Aukstuolis, he's a very solid guy on the ground, really good judo, really good takedown defense, and he's got power in his hands. Knocked out Bruno Capoloza a couple of fights ago. So yeah, it was back in like 2014, but still, he's got power, and I think he'll out-edge Marthin Hamlet on the feet right here. It's not a super confident one. He is the underdog here by a pretty large margin, even on Tapology as well as on the betting odds right there. But I'm gonna go Marthin Hamlet to lose by a decision right there. Alex Martinez and Stevie Ray in the lightweight division. Stevie Ray, a very good UFC fighter. I mean, 23 wins, 9 losses in total. Beat Paddy Pimblett in a grappling match. Craig Ewers in a grappling match with a twister. That is absolutely insane. Beat Michael Johnson by majority decision. Joe Lozon, Ross Pearson, and then so many guys over there in Cage Warriors and Bama. Only losing to Paul Felder, Leonardo Santos, Kajon Johnson by split decision, and then Alan Patrick. Some pretty solid guys in that list. But now he's fighting Alex Martinez off of a pretty long layoff, as the last fight, MMA, was about 2.5 years ago. He is still sort of in that prime stage of his MMA career. It's not like a super old fighter at all, as he is only 32 years old. He's going to be a little bit smaller and a little bit less in terms of reach right there, but still, I don't think the striking advantage for Alex Martinez is going to be by that much. I still give Alex Martinez a slight advantage on the feet with the height, with the reach, with the volume, but on the ground, as I said before, he submitted Paddy Pimblett. He's got very, very good dominant showings inside the UFC using that wrestling and grappling. And we saw what another legit wrestler and grappler in Louis Grazimov was able to do, landing a lot of takedowns and controlling a little bit here and there, but just able to grind out a decision. I kind of see that happening here with Stevie Ray. I think he lands the takedowns, out-wrestles, out-grapples to a decision. Really good fight at lightweight in the PFL right there. Emiliano Sordi and Cory Hendricks in the light heavyweight division. Cory Hendricks, actually the older fighter here, 33 years old compared to 31 years old. He's going to be a little bit taller, but way, way less in terms of reach than Emiliano Sordi, who is going to be 4 inches longer than Cory Hendricks. He only lost to Antonio Carlos Jr. for the PFL. I believe it was the semifinals last year. Before that, I believe it was a no contest against Dan Spawn or something like that, but beat Chris Camozzi before that, Jordan Johnson before that, and then Bozigit Atayev before that. He's a former PFL champion right there, and he is going to be a solid opponent here. So Cory Hendricks is not really the guy that's going to beat a guy like Emiliano Sordi. Antonio Carlos Jr. Was barely able to edge out 2 rounds. He did win the fight for sure, but Cory Hendricks is definitely no Antonio Carlos Jr. It's not like he's going to grind out a decision, out wrestling and out grappling Emiliano Sordi. It's just not going to happen, guys. Emiliano Sordi has way, way better striking. He's a lot more powerful. His jiu-jitsu is better. Honestly, his wrestling might be pretty even to Cory Hendricks, to be quite honest with you. But I see the fight staying on the feet for most of this fight, and Emiliano Sordi looking to get back in the win column with a very big win and get a knockout here. Emiliano Sordi by knockout in the first or second rounds. Natan Schulte and Oliver Aubin Mercier in the lightweight division. Oliver Aubin Mercier, a little bit older, and then Natan Schulte, right at the prime of his MMA career, but it's not like Oliver is an older guy. They're both just kind of right where they need to be in their careers. I wouldn't really say any of them is aging just for being 33 years old, but he's going to be a little bit smaller than Natan Schulte, a little bit lengthier than Natan Schulte, but that's not really what matters here. What really does matter is that Natan Schulte is going to be a very, very solid striker. I mean, he's training with some solid guys over there. A lot of his wins are submission wins, but if he's going to get this win over Oliver Aubin Mercier, he's going to need to outstrike him. I can't see him going out there and out wrestling, out grappling Oliver Aubin Mercier. He needs to go out there and outstrike him in this fight, and I cannot see that happening. Oliver Aubin Mercier is such a legit wrestler here from Canada. I mean, he beat Daryl Horcher dominantly in his last fight. He beat Marthin, a guy that beat Natan Schulte last year, so if you want to work in that MMA math, you can definitely do so. He only lost to Alexander Hernandez, Gilbert Burns, and Arman Tsarukyan in the UFC, and then Diego Ferreira. Every one of these guys could be ranked. Gilbert Burns, top 5. Diego Ferreira, top 15. Arman Tsarukyan, top 15. Alexander Hernandez, like top 25. And then he beat Drew Dober as well. I mean, he's finishing Drew Dober, a guy in Drew Dober that got finished by Islam Makhachev in the 3rd round right there. And this guy, Oliver Aubin Mercier, finished him faster than Islam Makhachev did. They finished him faster than Beneil Dariush did. So the man's wrestling and grappling is very, very legit. I don't think it's going to be enough to go out there and finish a guy like Natan Schulte, because Natan is also a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner, but I think he just grinds out a decision, out-wrestles him for 3 rounds, and wins the fight by on the scorecards right there in the lightweight division. Antonio Antonio Carlos Jr. and Delan Monte in the light heavyweight division. Delan Monte is not going to win this fight. Antonio Carlos Jr., 13 wins and 5 losses. He was on a little bit of a losing streak there in the UFC, losing to Ian Heinisch, Uriah Hall, and then Brad Tavares. All that really says is that all of these guys right here can be PFL champions. That's really all that says right there. But yeah, Antonio did beat some solid guys earlier on in his career. Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He beat Marvin Vettori by unanimous decision, which is a really well-aging win. And then he beat Emiliano Sordi in his second to last fight as well. Only way you're gonna beat a guy like Antonio Carlos Jr. is to defend the takedowns and kickbox with him for 3 straight rounds. Delan Monte is not a kickboxer. He's not one of those guys that's going to outstrike you for 3 rounds or anything like that. In fact, he's one of those guys looking for the same thing Antonio Carlos Jr. is in that submission. 3rd round submission win, 1st round submission win, 1st round submission win, and then a couple other finishes right there. But you can see it, 5-22. 5-2 is not bad. 14-5, not bad. 0-4, 3-3, 4-7. I mean, the competition differences for both Delan Monte and Antonio Carlos Jr., it is very, very apparent right here. Antonio Carlos Jr. should absolutely dominate him. He's fought the better competition, beat Marvin Vettori a few years back. He's a better grappler. He's taller. He's lengthier. Should get the win there. Finish in the 1st or 2nd round for Antonio Carlos Jr. Raush Manfio and Don Madge in the lightweight division. Don Madge, I'm pretty high on this guy. He's very tall for the division at 6 foot tall. Raush Manfio is at 5'9" inches tall, but with a little bit of a reach advantage right there. Both in the prime of their MMA career and both on very good win streaks. Raush Manfio did lose to Sydney Outlaw by unanimous decision, but beat Jonathan Luderbach by split decision, Anthony Pettis by split decision, Clay Collard, and then Louis Garadzabov. I do believe Clay Collard won that fight. And yeah, I think Clay Collard should have probably been the champion last year. But Don Madge is a very legit guy. He's coming off a submission win over Nathan Williams in the PFL last year. Before that, getting a knockout win over T. Edwards, a submission win on Dave Mazzani, and a decision win over Fairzian. Very legit fighter right here. He's only lost to Leon Myhart. I don't know what is up with him and Leon Myhart, but Leon Myhart just, he is the man's kryptonite right here. I could not get the words out, but this is the kryptonite right here. Leon Myhart is the kryptonite 100% for Don Madge. All 3 losses coming to the exact same guy. I don't know how that's possible, but yeah, Don Madge is going to be the better striker in my opinion. He's going to be the more powerful guy. Grappling and wrestling is going to be very, very 50-50, but Madge is a lot more powerful. He throws a lot more volume. He puts on the pressure. He's going to be coming forward on Raush Manfio. He should definitely win this fight. He should put on the pressure and win the fight on the feet with the striking. Win all 3 rounds. I do not expect to finish here. Don Madge by a unanimous decision. Clay Collard and Jeremy Stephens in the lightweight division. Jeremy Stephens, legit guy. I mean, he's losing to very, very solid opponents, like Yair Rodriguez, top 5 featherweight, Zabit Magomed Sharipov, another top 5 featherweight, Jose Aldo, top 5 bantamweight, Calvin Kattar, top 5 featherweight, Matthews Gamrot, top 15 UFC lightweight. He beat Josh Emmett, a top 10 featherweight, lost to Frankie Edgar, top 15 bantamweight, Max Holloway, top 1 champion right there, Charles Oliveira. I mean, Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Gleison Tebow, Joe Lozon. I mean, the list can go on and on and on the guys that he has lost to. They're all very, very legit guys. But so is Clay Collard, man. The guy is 29 years old, in the prime of his career, 2 inches taller than Jeremy Stephens, 2 inches longer in terms of reach than Jeremy Stephens. He has the volume advantage. He has the better boxing. Yes, Jeremy Stephens does have more power on the feet, but overall, it's 3 rounds of striking. I think the judges will favor Clay Collard this time around, unlike they did in his last fight with Raush Manfio. But I do see Clay Collard outstriking Jeremy Stephens for 3 rounds on the feet and winning the fight by decision. Jeremy will make it interesting. He'll throw some bombs, looking to land on Clay Collard, possibly rock Clay Collard a few times here. But I think Clay's volume and pressure and boxing will overall get him the decision there. Really good fight in the lightweight division. And that is my full card prediction. I got Clay Collard, Don Madge, Antonio Carlos Jr., Oliver Aubin, Mercier, Emiliano Sordi, Stevie Ray, Teodoras, Aukstuolis, Viktor Pesta, Wilkinson, and Simeon Powell, all winning their fights. And as one of the comments did say, they said, will you cover the confident picks at the end as well? We are at the end, so let's do those confident picks. Number 1, most confident on the card. You already know what it's going to be. Antonio Carlos Jr., he's just better in pretty much every aspect of that fight. Number 2, most confident pick of the card, Emiliano Sordi right there. He's pretty much better every aspect of the game, maybe except for the wrestling. Number 3, this is where it gets very, very interesting, as at number 3. 3 is very, very tough. Those are the 2, like, very, very confident. Aside from that, it is very, very pick and choose. Like, there are very 50-50 fights after that. But I would have to say probably Oliver Aubin Mercier at number 3. Number 4, I'll go Clay Collard. Number 5, I will go Don Madge. Number 6, I'm going to go Viktor Pesta right there. Number 7, Rob Wilkinson. Number 8, Simeon Powell. And number 9, Stevie Ray. I can see that being a close fight, but there are so many very, very close fights on this card. I believe like half of them, maybe even like 70%, 80% of these fights are literally like 50-50 on the betting. I was like minus 110, minus 110, minus 140, plus 120. There are such 50-50 fights on this card. But yeah, those are the predictions. Those are the confident picks as well. But yeah, make sure to put your predictions down below in the comment section, like the video, subscribe, and everything like that, and we'll see you in the next video. Let's go.